Hey guys, welcome to this latest update for the state of the coronavirus in New Zealand. The date is the 28th of March, so let's get into it.
Alright, so it has been quite a different week in New Zealand, that's for sure, and a lot of things have changed since the last video covering the coronavirus that we've done on this channel. So in this video right here, we are going to go through a few of the facts and what it actually means for travelers. Then we're going to answer some of the popular questions that we received, and then we are going to tell you a little bit about what it means to kind of being in complete lockdown here in New Zealand, because this is where we're at. So to get started with a few facts, as of the 28th of March 2020 in New Zealand, we have 416 cases which are confirmed for coronavirus in New Zealand, and if you include the probable cases, which are basically we're almost sure that it is the case but we're not sure, it's 451. There has been a lot of numbers running around the medias in New Zealand. There's a lot of stories which are really sensationals and everything. Please don't believe, like, you know, don't take for like as a fact everything that you see in the media. You know, check everything that I'm checking, for example, right now comes straight away from the Ministry of Health's website, and there's another really good source of news in New Zealand. It's called Radio New Zealand. They have a beautiful website with a ton of information on there, and so that's the one source of information that you can really kind of trust. The rest are really more like media and entertainment corporations, so that's why we try to kind of avoid that. So, in short, what has happened in New Zealand? So, at the beginning of the week, we were on an alert called level 3, which we can refer to our chart that we received. So, we were on an alert level 3, but this week we have moved to level 4, which means that basically things are getting a little bit critical, and on top of that, the New Zealand government has declared the state of emergency. So to get started, we are under the state of emergency for 7 days since I think that was on Wednesday, so I think it's going to finish on Wednesday
at midnight.
Yeah, on Wednesday at midnight again. So for 7 days we're under state of emergency, which means that basically the government services such as policies and everything get extra resources and a few extra powers and everything like that in order to kind of you know, basically get things done. I'm not going to dive too much into details in that because it's not really relevant to most travelers which are planning a trip to New Zealand, but we are now on alert level 4, which means that there is quite a lot of hefty restriction on life in New Zealand. Laura, do you want to go through a bit of the restrictions?
Yeah, so what that actually means, like some of the measures that are in place right now, is that people are instructed to stay at home, educational facilities are closed, businesses are closed except for essential services, for example, supermarkets, pharmacies, clinics, and lifeline utilities. Rationing of supplies and requisitioning of facilities, travel severely limited, and major reprioritization of healthcare services.
So in short, for travelers, it means that no activities of any on tours or anything like that is available in New Zealand. Everything has been shut down, and people are either kind of working from home and they're doing a few of their, like, you know, online work or catching up with invoices and everything. Otherwise, you just kind of work on your house and do other things. So yeah, in short, traveling in New Zealand right now, it's kind of not happening at all. So there are some people which are currently in New Zealand and which are traveling, which were traveling around and are now stranded in New Zealand. There have been a few efforts of flights to try to send people back to Europe, organized by the German government and everything. They are still working some of the kinks in and out to make sure that people are getting to the airport in a safe way as well. So this is not locked in. There has been one flight which actually is taking off as we recorded this video tomorrow, but the other flights are not happening just yet, and you know, things will be working out this way. As per doing things around the greater outdoor in New Zealand, you may think, oh, I can do things in New Zealand, I don't necessarily need two activities. Most of the departments of conservation lands and tracks have been closed to the public, so you can't just go on a hike on a dock hike or anything like that. You just can't do that, just because the emergency services wouldn't be able to come and help if anything happened, and for this reason most of those things have been closed. All the dock huts, so the Department Conservation huts have been closed, and most of the freedom camping areas run by the dog, or the camping all of that has been closed as well. If you are currently in a self-contained van, it is an okay accommodation for self-isolation, but you must remain in the same spot for 4 weeks, so you won't be able to just drive around and keep doing your thing. You must remain in the same area for 4 weeks. So that's kind of like for people here in New Zealand. If you are a traveler in New Zealand and want to stay in a hotel or in a hostel and everything like that, by this time you should already have a place to stay. That should already have been sorted out, and yes, you have to stay in the same place for the whole time, and then organize food deliveries or those kind of things, or I have one person going out and shop for food and then coming back in, and most restaurants and takeaways and everything, all of those things are closed, so you can only rely on your supermarket or your very small convenience store. So that's currently where we're at. Now, a lot of people are asking us questions about visa processing, because you may be in the process of trying to get a visa in New Zealand, either student visa, resident visa, traveler visa, working holiday visa and all that. So there is a bit of a message from Immigration New Zealand.
Okay, and I shall read that out. That is from Immigration New Zealand, saying, all Immigration New Zealand's overseas offices are closed for the foreseeable future as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
All closed.
We only have skeleton staff in New Zealand. Skeleton staff.
So skeleton staff, that means literally just the bare minimum and nothing else. So only a few people that need to process the very, very urgent thing to do. And let me tell you right now, unless you're on very strict condition, you're not urgent. Either you're medical staff that need to come to New Zealand to come and help, or you're delivering like medical goods and everything. That's basically the only thing that they're working on.
Okay, that's nearly not as fun as I thought that was. So we only have skeleton staff in New Zealand, and their only priority is dealing with any COVID-19 request. Responses are being prioritized based on the direction of government, for example health workers, and are intended only for exceptional cases. We are urgently establishing a system for dealing with these priority requests. Residents with expired travel conditions cannot travel to New Zealand. You may apply for reinstatement of a resident visa travel conditions. Shall we go through the rest?
No, that's good. Yeah? So the rest of the information remained the same from the last video that we did for you guys. So in short, everything has been put on hold, and this will remain for the next 3 weeks and possibly more. So just be aware of that. Like everything, like every deadline will be extended. I mean, they will try to work as hard as they can and to keep up with the demand and kind of stick with all those deadline that they gave, but it's probably not happening. I mean, if you kind of put things into perspective, it's probably not going to happen. All right, so that's basically what is all the information for travelers in New Zealand. If you are arriving in New Zealand,
somehow.
So if you are arriving in New Zealand, that probably means that you are a Kiwi coming back to New Zealand. At that point, you will be given thorough tests to check if you are carrying the disease or not, and you'll be giving instruction at that point. So I don't think it's our place to kind of really give you all of those things. And I think that now we can move on to a bit less factual and kind of answer some of the questions that we received throughout the week and tell you a little bit about what it is to live in a lockdown here in New Zealand. So some of the questions that we receive quite often first is, when can I travel to New Zealand again?
Well, that really depends on what happens with the whole situation. I think at this time you can safely assume, at least for the next 4 weeks, like for the next month, that you can't travel to New Zealand. So if you do have an upcoming trip planned, or you were hoping to come in the next month or so, then it's probably just best, in our opinion, to just cancel that and think about it another time. Yeah.
So the whole month of April is probably just a no-go.
Yeah.
That's almost for sure. So April 2020 is probably just flat no. When it comes to the next month, we obviously will be posting videos when they are, changing a few requirements and everything. But one of the things to take in consideration is that all little window of use right here in New Zealand, is very different than what happened in global scale, right? So coming to New Zealand doesn't just mean I want to come to New Zealand, is New Zealand open or not? You will also need to transit between the airport and between areas and everything. Your country may also have different travel restrictions and everything. So New Zealand is now kind of linked to, a trip to New Zealand is now linked to most of the restrictions for the entire world. So I think that it will take a few months before people can travel back to New Zealand, and I personally only see and this is just my personal opinion. I personally only think stabilizing and coming back into normal not before summer, next summer, New Zealand time, which is summer in New Zealand.
Summer in New Zealand is December, January and February.
Should we remember them at some point? She will.
It doesn't come to me straight away, but I do have to think about it.
So that's the main question that we receive all the time, right? And the other question that we receive is about visas. People that have gotten visas and they want to know if they will have another chance to come to New Zealand, if their travel conditions have expired, if the visa expire, can I still come? Because right now I got my visa, but I didn't have the time to come to New Zealand. All of those kind of things. So for that, it's kind of the big unknown right now. They haven't come up with policies. The lockdown has only been going for like since Wednesday, so we're talking about like 4 days right now. So and right now there's no one at work, so there's no one working on the solution yet. So there is just so much unknown right now. So the simple answer is that we don't know, and as soon as we know, we will do a video about it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, and a lot of people are also asking us, what is it like to live like in a lockdown in New Zealand? What's going on right now? What can you do? What can you not do? What's going on?
Yeah.
So first up, food-wise, do we have enough food in New Zealand?
Yep, so there's no crazy shortages in New Zealand. There's still toilet paper. That's the thing that's still on the shelves in many places. But there are a few shortages where some people early on, just before the lockdown happened, there was obviously quite a lot of panic buying. So there's a few things where some stores might not have flour, some stores might not have maybe canned goods or pasta, that sort of thing. So I think it really depends on what stores you're going to, but we know in our case our local supermarket doesn't have flour, so
it comes back in stock quite fast. It's just, I think it was just the initial lockdown, everybody was panicking and we're not sure what the rules will be, so everybody went to buy everything within 2 days, and therefore there was really very little left. But now things are stabilizing, and we've seen pictures online of like a lot of people that went shopping, and all the shelves were full. So I think things are going to stabilize, and in the next couple of weeks everything is going to be absolutely fine. But don't worry, in the meantime everything is still open, we can still go shopping. So now the rule is kind of like send one person shopping, and in the supermarket as well, there are some supermarkets that just make sure that they have a certain amount of people in the shop, so you don't have too many people there. But that's pretty much it.
Also, I was just going to mention, also supermarkets have now started putting restrictions on how many items per household you can take.
So you can hold like 1 million toilet paper. It's, if you don't need that much, you can't buy that much. That's as simple as that.
So it's usually, but those restrictions aren't too crazy or anything. It's usually like you can buy 2 of the similar types of items per household. So for instance, you can buy 2 bags of rice instead of 1 million, or you can buy 2 bags of flour, for instance, or 2 canned goods. The rationing isn't too crazy. You're not going to start starving. This isn't the World War.
It's not. All right. So when they were saying rationing, when everybody received like notice, and everybody got that in the mail and everything like that, and obviously it's kind of like, oh my god, it's rationing, but it's absolutely fine. Now, as per like everyday life, you basically have to kind of stay in your own bubble. Like the goal is kind of like just to contain everything, so everybody stays in their own bubble. So you can't go to see a doctor. You can call, and then you will have a phone consultation, and then if they want to see you, they see you. Otherwise, they don't see you. If you need to go to the pharmacy, you can go to the pharmacy. They would just kind of make you queue a bit of a space, and there's going to be a certain amount of people that get in. But it took exactly the same amount of time that it usually takes to go to the pharmacy.
Actually, we went the other day, and actually it was faster than normal.
Okay, well,
I have to say that the new processes are working very effectively. I was very pleased. But anyway.
That's funny.
But yeah, they do a bit more of you know, they have the FPOS machine, or as other people around the world will know, they had the card machine, the debit card machine. They sort of sanitize that as you go. They kind of they just make the whole experience a lot more cleanly, and so that's kind of the only difference, really. Yeah, and the staff are wearing masks.
Yeah. All right, and when it comes down to work, the New Zealand government is providing businesses with some help in order to be able to keep some employees on the roster for a little bit longer. Most people are staying at home. Only if you're an essential business, you actually are able to work. But that also means that there is a lot of businesses which are hurt really bad, and especially in the tourism industry. I mean, if you think about it for a second, the tourism industry just came to a grounding halt instantly when this coronavirus hit the global scale. And so yeah, tourism is really hurt a lot, and I mean, and we see that, you know, our business is in tourism, so we definitely see that. So so a lot of people are kind of working a little bit from home, but that, you know, you literally just catch up on work that you couldn't do before. You are making zero income for the foreseeable future, and a lot of people see that. So the message that we want to put through is to try to kind of convey one thing is, yes, you're probably cancelling your trip right now, but what about postponing? And that's really kind of the message that every country is going to try to put forward, and everybody in the tourism industry is going to try to put forward. We had some plans to go to some of the South Pacific Islands, but our plan now is just to postpone it to a little bit later. So we're just postponing it a few months and still are going to go. And really, for anyone which was planning a trip to New Zealand, well, consider postponing it. When you're calling to cancelling your trip, consider saying, what about I keep my flight but you're pushing it back for 6 months? What about I keep my booking but you're pushing it back for 6 months? Most companies will be very happy to work with you on that, and that will definitely help everybody, and it will literally be of a global scale help, because tourism may be one of the source of the next global financial crisis, because it's probably happening, and it's probably going to stem from the fact that tourism is going to be hurt a lot. So if you are changing your plans for New Zealand, well, change them, don't cancel them, and that'd be the right thing to do. I mean, at least in our opinion.
Yeah, nicely put, Robin.
All right, so thank you very much for watching this update on the impact of coronavirus in New Zealand. We are going to be doing those videos, well, as news comes. You know, I don't know if we're doing one of those next week again. If nothing changes, we're probably not doing one, but otherwise we're going to try to do something every single week to let you know if something new happened. In the meantime, keep on traveling safe, and we are still live every single week at 8 a.m. on Sunday New Zealand time, which is in the world. Laura, do
we actually have the balls?
Come on. So if you are in the UK or in France, it's at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. on Saturday. If you're in the USA, it's on Saturday at 2 p.m. EST or 11 a.m. PST. If you're in India, it's 12:30 a.m. on the Sunday, and if you're in Australia, it's 6 a.m. on Sunday. Feel free to pop in, ask us any questions. We're here to help you plan an epic trip to New Zealand. Bye bye.
Stay safe.